The conference room went silent in the wrong way. Not the silence of respect, not the silence of shock, the silence of people deciding, in real time, that they had never heard anything at all. Dominic Blackmere stood at the head of the glass table, both hands pressed flat against the surface. His voice had been steady when he spoke, calm, even, the kind of calm that made the words worse. "Open your legs, I will only stop when my air is in you." Rowan Hale stood 3 feet away, frozen. The fluorescent lights hummed overhead. Outside the floor-to-ceiling windows, Lake Michigan stretched black and flat under the night sky. No one moved. Rowan's supervisor, a beater named Marissa Chen, had been mid-sentence when Dominic interrupted. Now her mouth hung open. She closed it, looked down at her tablet, kept looking down. Across the table, 2 board members, both alphas in tailored suits, shifted in their chairs. One coughed into his fist. The other suddenly became very interested in his phone. "Hi viewers, kindly tell us where you're watching from and what time it is." Dominic hadn't raised his voice. That was the problem. He'd said it the way someone might order lunch, matter of fact, expected. The 60-year-old alpha's silver hair was combed back perfectly. His suit probably cost more than Rowan made in a year. He smelled like expensive cologne and old money. Rowan's heart slammed against ribs. Breath caught somewhere between lungs and throat. The Omega status tattoo on Rowan's wrist, the small Omega symbol required by law, suddenly felt like it was burning. Sealed scent or not, registered or not, protected or not, none of it mattered in this room. Behind Rowan, the door was still open. That was the only reason Rowan could see the reflection in the glass. 3 people stood in the hallway. The first was tall, dark-skinned, maybe 35. Alpha. Rowan didn't recognize him, but something about the way he held himself screamed danger. His coat was too expensive, his posture too still. The second was shorter, lighter-skinned, with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. Sealer's Crow, Dominic's right hand, the man who signed paychecks and made people disappear with equal efficiency. The third person was small, a child, maybe 6 years old, wearing a jacket 3 sizes too big, clutching a stuffed wolf to his chest. The child stared directly at Rowan through the glass. Rowan's knees wobbled. Dominic hadn't noticed the door, or he didn't care. "You think I don't know what you've been doing," Dominic said, his voice dropped lower. "You think I don't see how this company runs, how my son runs it." Rowan opened mouth to speak. Nothing came out. "I built this empire," Dominic continued. "I decided who lives in it, and I decide what happens next." Marissa stood up, finally, her chair scraped against tile. "Mr. Blackmere, I think we should." "Sit down." Marissa sat. One of the board members checked his watch, stood, muttered something about another meeting, left without looking back. The other followed 30 seconds later. Now it was just Rowan, Dominic, Marissa, and the 3 figures in the hallway that no one else seemed to notice. Dominic walked around the table, slow, deliberate. He stopped directly in front of Rowan, close enough that Rowan could see the gold cufflinks on his sleeves, close enough to smell the bourbon on his breath. "You're going to fix this," Dominic said quietly. "You're going to undo whatever you did to bring him back, and then you're going to give me what I need, an heir, legitimate, controllable." Rowan finally found words. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Liar." The word hung in the air like smoke. In the reflection, the tall alpha took a step forward. The child grabbed his coat. The alpha stopped. Dominic leaned in, his voice dropped to a whisper. "I don't care if you're scared, I don't care if you're sealed. Your body works the same way every Omega's does, and when I'm done, you'll carry exactly what I tell you to carry." Rowan's vision blurred at the edges. Dominic straightened, adjusted his tie, turned to Marissa. "Draft the paperwork. Rowan Hale is being transferred to estate management, effective immediately." Marissa's hands shook as she typed. "Yes, Mr. Blackmere." Dominic walked toward the door, stopped, looked back. "Oh, and Rowan, if you run, I'll find you. If you talk, I'll bury you. If you so much as think about going to the authorities," he smiled. "Well, you know how these things work." He left. The door clicked shut. Rowan stood alone in the conference room with Marissa, who refused to make eye contact. Outside in the hallway, the 3 figures were gone. But Rowan knew they'd been real. Because when the tall alpha had stepped forward, the child had whispered something. Rowan couldn't hear it through the glass, but could read the shape of the words on the small lips. "Don't let him take me." Rowan pressed both hands against the table to keep from collapsing. The threat wasn't the worst part. The worst part was that everyone had heard it. And no one had done a damn thing. Who do you think the mysterious alpha in the hallway is? Drop your theories below. Rowan walked through the underground parking garage alone. The fluorescent lights flickered, concrete pillars cast long shadows, every footstep echoed. Blackmere Holdings owned the building. Dominic Blackmere owned the company, which meant Dominic owned this garage, the security cameras watching it, and the guards who monitored those cameras. Rowan's car sat in the far corner, a 10-year-old sedan with a dented bumper and a passenger window that didn't roll down anymore. It looked exactly like what it was, transportation for someone who couldn't afford to leave. The Omega registry worked like insurance. Mandatory, monitored, expensive. Every 3 months, Rowan reported to a clinic for scent checks, hormone panels, and cycle tracking. Every report went into a database. Every database entry was accessible to employers, landlords, and law enforcement. The system called it protection. Rowan called it surveillance. Omegas who missed appointments lost their status, lost their jobs, lost their housing, became unregistered, and unregistered Omegas had no rights at all. Rowan reached the car, fumbled with keys, hands still shaking from the conference room. A voice spoke from behind. You plan on sitting in there all night, or you gonna drive somewhere? Rowan spun. The tall alpha from the hallway leaned against a concrete pillar 10 feet away. Up close, he looked older than 35, maybe 40, scars on his knuckles, a faded tattoo on his neck that disappeared under his collar. Who are you? Rowan's voice came out steadier than expected. Cade Blackmere, he said it casually, like it wasn't a name that had been declared dead 15 years ago, and before you ask, yeah, that Blackmere. Rowan's back hit the car. You're supposed to be dead. I know, didn't take. Cade pushed off the pillar, walked closer, stopped just outside arm's reach. You got something of mine. I don't know what you're talking about. The kid. Rowan's chest tightened. I don't have. Don't lie to me. Cade's voice didn't rise, didn't need to. Ashen, 6 years old, brown skin, big eyes, scared of everything except you. The stuffed wolf flashed through Rowan's mind, the small hand gripping fabric, the whispered plea through glass. I found him, Rowan said carefully. 3 months ago, he was alone. Where? Shipment dock, south side. Someone left him in a container. Cade's jaw tightened, and you took him home. What was I supposed to do, leave him there? Yes, Cade said it flatly. You were supposed to call authorities, file a report, let the system handle it. The system doesn't handle anything, Rowan's voice sharpened. The system would have sent him to a facility, run tests, sold him to the highest bidder when his scent came in. Maybe, Cade tilted his head, or maybe you wanted leverage. The accusation landed like a punch. I'm not using him for anything, Rowan said. Then why hide him? Because he asked me to. Silence stretched between them. Cade studied Rowan's face, looking for something, a tell, a crack. Finally he exhaled through his nose. Dominic knows. About Ashen. About everything. Cade crossed his arms. He thinks you're trying to control the bloodline, thinks you engineered my return, thinks you're playing a game you don't understand. I'm not playing anything. Doesn't matter, he's already decided. Cade glanced up at a security camera mounted on the ceiling, red light blinking. You got maybe 72 hours before he moves, and when he moves, it won't be pretty. Rowan's stomach dropped. What does that mean? It means you're about to lose everything. Cade turned to leave, stopped, looked back. One more thing. Ashen, he's not Dominic's grandson. Rowan blinked. What? Think about it. Who benefits from Dominic believing he is? Cade walked into the shadows and disappeared. Rowan stood alone in the garage, keys still clutched in one hand, mind racing. Dominic had said fix this, had said bring him back, as if Rowan had orchestrated something. But Rowan hadn't done anything except show up for work and try to survive. Unless... Rowan pulled out a phone, opened encrypted files, medical records, sent logs, shipment manifests, all the documents Rowan had quietly copied over the past 3 months while trying to figure out where Ashen had come from. One file stood out. A scent profile, incomplete, dated 4 months before Rowan found the child. The biological parent wasn't listed, but the sponsor was. Sealer's Crow. Rowan's phone buzzed, unknown number. The message was short. Stop digging, last warning. Rowan looked up at the security camera, red light still blinking. Someone was always watching. And now they knew Rowan knew. What do you think Sealers is hiding? Comment your theories. Ashen didn't cry when he was scared. That was the first thing Rowan noticed 3 months ago. The second thing was the way the child pressed himself into corners, making his body as small as possible, as if being invisible could keep him safe. Now Ashen sat at the kitchen table in Rowan's apartment, coloring. The stuffed wolf sat beside him. His small hands gripped a red crayon too tightly. Rowan poured cereal into 2 bowls. The apartment was small, 1 bedroom, thin walls, neighbors who minded their business because everyone in this building had something to hide. You hungry? Rowan asked. Ashen nodded without looking up. Rowan set the bowl in front of him. Ashen ate 3 bites, stopped, pushed the bowl away. Not good, Rowan tried to keep the worry out of voice. It's good, Ashen's voice was barely a whisper. I'm just not hungry. Rowan sat down across from him. You need to eat. I know. Then why? He's coming, isn't he? The crayon snapped in Ashen's hand. Rowan reached across the table, took the broken pieces gently. Who? The man from before, the old one. Dominic. Ashen meant Dominic. How do you know about him? Rowan asked carefully. I remember. Ashen's eyes stayed fixed on his drawing. He came to the place where I used to be, before you found me. He looked at me like I was something he wanted to buy. Rowan's throat tightened. You don't have to worry about him. You're lying. The words cut clean through. Ashen finally looked up. His eyes were too old for his face. People always lie when they're scared. My mom did. The other people did. You're doing it now. Rowan wanted to argue, couldn't. I'm not going to let him take you, Rowan said instead. I promise. Promises don't work. Ashen picked up a green crayon, started coloring again. People break them. Rowan watched the small hands move across paper. The drawing was starting to take shape. A house, a yard, 2 figures standing outside, 1 tall, 1 small. Is that us? Rowan asked. Ashen nodded. Where is that house? I don't know, somewhere safe. Ashen added windows, a door. Do places like that exist? Yes, they do. Have you been to one? Rowan opened mouth, closed it. Not yet. Ashen set the crayon down. The man in the hallway, the tall one, he's like the old one, isn't he? An alpha. Yes. Is he bad too? I don't know. Ashen studied Rowan's face, but you think he might be good? Maybe. Because he stopped when I asked him to. Rowan's chest tightened. When did you ask him to stop? In the hallway, when he started walking toward you. I pulled his coat and he stopped. Ashen picked the crayon back up. Most people don't stop. Rowan didn't know what to say to that. The apartment buzzer rang. Both of them froze. Rowan stood slowly, walked to the intercom, pressed the button. Who is it? Static, then a voice. Female, tired. Building inspection, need to check your unit. I didn't get a notice. Emergency inspection, gas leak reported on your floor. Rowan's pulse spiked. There was no gas leak. The building was all electric. I'm not opening the door, Rowan said. Silence. Then the voice came back, different tone, male, cold. You sure about that? The intercom cut off. Rowan turned. Ashen was already standing, wolf clutched to his chest, fear written across his face. Bathroom, Rowan said quietly. Now, lock the door, don't come out until I tell you. But, now Ashen. The child ran. Rowan moved to the front door, looked through the peephole. 2 figures stood in the hallway, both men, both alphas. One held a clipboard, the other held nothing, which was somehow worse. Rowan's phone buzzed. Unknown number again. Open the door, or we open it for you. Rowan's hands shook. Another buzz, different number this time. Don't open it, fire exit, 10 seconds. Rowan didn't stop to think, ran to the bathroom, opened the door. Ashen stood in the tub, wolf pressed against his face. "We are leaving," Rowan said. "Right now, stay close." They ran to the fire exit at the end of the hall. Rowan shoved the door open. Alarm blared. Stairs spiraled down 7 flights. Behind them, the apartment door crashed open. Rowan grabbed Ashen's hand and ran. "Will they make it out? What do you think happens next?" Sealer's crow didn't raise his voice often. He didn't need to. Sealers sat in his office on the 40th floor of Blackmere Holdings, reviewing files on 3 monitors. Shipment logs, personnel records, financial transfers, everything ran through him before it reached Dominic. That was how Sealers liked it. Information was power, control was survival. His phone buzzed, he answered without looking. "Talk." "Lost them." The voice on the other end belonged to Marcus, one of the building inspectors. Former military, good at following orders. "They took the fire exit. By the time we got down, they were gone." Sealers didn't react. Security footage. "Pulled it." They got into a car 3 blocks away. Sedan, plates registered to Rowan Hale. "Track it." "Already on it." Sealers ended the call. On the middle monitor, Rowan's employment file sat open. 27 years old, Omega, registered, compliance analyst, no criminal record, no family ties, no reason to be interesting. Except Rowan had done something very stupid 3 months ago. Rowan had found Ashen. Sealers leaned back in his chair. The city lights glittered below. Chicago looked peaceful from up here, clean, orderly. It wasn't. The door opened without knocking. Dominic walked in, bourbon in hand, suit jacket gone, tie loosened. He looked older than 60 tonight, tired. "Where are we?" Dominic asked. Rowan ran, took the kid. "We're tracking the car." Dominic took a long drink, and Cade. No sign of him since the garage. "He's helping them." "Maybe." Dominic set the glass down hard. "There's no maybe. My son doesn't show his face after 15 years just to sightsee. He's here for a reason." Sealers said nothing. "You told me the boy was secure," Dominic continued. "You told me the situation was managed." "It was. And yet here we are." Dominic moved to the window, stared out at the city. "Do you know what I've built here, Sealers?" "Yes." "Everything from nothing, every dollar, every connection, every piece of this empire. I built it with my hands and my name." He turned. "And my name is my bloodline, my legacy." "I understand." "Do you?" Dominic's voice sharpened. "Because from where I'm standing, it looks like some Omega analyst is about to destroy everything I've spent 60 years creating." Sealers kept his expression neutral. "Rowan Hale is not a threat." "Rowan Hale is hiding my grandson." "Ashen isn't." "Careful," Dominic's eyes narrowed. "Very careful how you finish that sentence." Sealers closed his mouth. Dominic picked up his glass, drained it. "I want them found, both of them. And when you find them, you bring them to me, not the authorities, not some facility, me. And if Rowan resists, then you make sure resistance isn't an option." Dominic headed for the door, stopped. "One more thing, when you find Cade, don't kill him. I want that pleasure myself." He left. Sealers sat alone in the office. On the right monitor, a tracking map showed Rowan's car moving east through the city. Slow, cautious, smart. On the left monitor, financial records scrolled past. Accounts, transfers, shell companies, everything Dominic thought he controlled. Everything Sealers actually controlled. Dominic believed Ashen was his grandson because Sealers had made him believe it, had planted the idea, nurtured it, let it grow. The truth was simpler. Ashen was Sealers' son. Not by choice, not by love, by necessity. 4 years ago, Sealers had needed leverage, insurance against the day Dominic decided he was no longer useful, so Sealers had arranged for an Omega, young, desperate, willing to do anything for money. The pregnancy was easy, the birth was not. The Omega died in labor. Sealers kept the child, placed him in a facility, paid for care, waited. Then Dominic started talking about legacy, about heirs, about blood. And Sealers saw an opportunity. He told Dominic about a grandson, a child from Cade's line, hidden, protected, waiting to be claimed. Dominic believed it because he wanted to believe it. But Rowan had found the boy too early, before Sealers could stage the perfect introduction, before the lie was airtight. Now everything was unraveling. Sealers picked up his phone, dialed, "It's me, I need a cleanup team, full reset." "Target," the voice asked. "Rowan Hale and anyone helping them." "Including the kid." Sealers hesitated. "No, bring the boy to me alive." "And the others?" "Use your judgment." Sealers ended the call. On the tracking monitor, Rowan's car turned north. Sealers smiled. They were heading toward the harbor, toward the old shipping district, toward the one place in Chicago where Blackmere influence was weakest. Toward Cade's territory. Interesting. Sealers opened a new file, started typing. Subject, contingency plan B. If Dominic discovered the truth about Ashen, Sealers would need someone to blame. Rowan Hale would do nicely. Is Sealers the real villain, or is there someone worse? Share your thoughts. The courtroom smelled like floor polish and old wood. Rowan sat at the defendant's table, hands folded, trying not to shake. A public defender sat beside them, young, overworked, already apologizing for things that hadn't happened yet. "This is just a preliminary hearing," the lawyer said. His name was Daniel something. Rowan hadn't caught the last name. "They'll present evidence. Judge will decide if there's enough to proceed." "And if there is?" Rowan asked. Daniel didn't answer. The room filled slowly, press in the back rows, Blackmere Holdings representatives in the front, observers, witnesses, people who came to watch other people fall apart. Rowan's charges scrolled across a monitor beside the judge's bench. Fraud, embezzlement, misuse of company resources, endangering a minor, kidnapping. All of it false. All of it provable. That was the genius of it. Sealers had built the case like a puzzle. Each piece fit perfectly. Bank transfers Rowan never made, documents Rowan never signed, security footage edited just enough to tell a different story. The judge entered, everyone stood, everyone sat. "Case number 2847, the judge said, the people versus Rowan Hale." The prosecutor stood, a woman in her 50s, sharp suit, sharper voice. "Your Honor, the people are prepared to present evidence of systematic financial crimes committed by the defendant over a period of 18 months, culminating in the abduction of a minor child, identified as Ashen Crow." Rowan's heart stopped. Ashen Crow, not Blackmere, Crow. The prosecutor continued. "We have documentation showing Mr. Hale accessed confidential files, manipulated shipping records, and used company funds to facilitate illegal activities. We also have testimony from multiple witnesses placing the defendant with the child in question." Daniel leaned over, whispered, "Did you know the kid's last name was Crow?" "No," Rowan whispered back. "I didn't know he had a last name at all." The prosecutor called her first witness. Marissa Chen took the stand, Rowan's former supervisor, the woman who'd sat in the conference room and watched Dominic make his threat and done nothing. Now she sat in the witness box and lied. "Did you notice any unusual behavior from Mr. Hale in the months leading up to his termination?" the prosecutor asked. "Yes," Marissa's voice was steady, rehearsed. "He was frequently absent from his desk. He accessed files outside his clearance level. When questioned, he became defensive." "Did he ever mention a child?" "Once, he said he was looking into discrepancies in our youth services contracts. I told him that wasn't his department." "And did he stop?" "No, he continued accessing restricted records." The prosecutor smiled, no further questions. Daniel stood. "Ms. Chen, did you ever file a formal complaint about Mr. Hale's behavior?" "No. Why not? I thought I could handle it internally." "Did you ever directly observe Mr. Hale committing fraud?" "No, but..." "Thank you, nothing further." Marissa stepped down. The prosecutor called 3 more witnesses, all employees, all reading from the same script, all describing a pattern of suspicious behavior that Rowan didn't remember doing. Then the prosecutor played security footage. The monitor showed Rowan entering a restricted storage area, accessing a file cabinet, removing documents. The timestamp read 3 months ago, 2 days before Rowan found Ashen. Except Rowan had never been in that room. "Your Honor," Daniel said quickly, "we'd like to request an independent analysis of that footage." On what grounds? The judge asked. We believe it's been edited. Do you have evidence of tampering? Not yet, but... Then your request is denied. Continue, counselor. The prosecutor entered the footage into evidence. Rowan's hands went numb. The hearing lasted 4 hours. By the end, the judge had enough. Based on the evidence presented, the judge said, I'm ordering the defendant held without bail pending trial. Furthermore, I'm issuing an emergency custody order for the minor child Ashen to be placed in state protective services until paternity and guardianship can be established. Rowan stood. Your Honor, please. Mr. Hale, you'll have the opportunity to present your defense at trial. Until then, you're remanded to county custody. The gavels fell. The courtroom erupted in whispers. Rowan turned, scanned the crowd. In the back row, partially hidden behind a pillar, Cade watched. His expression was unreadable. Beside him, a smaller figure pressed against his side. Ashen. The child was supposed to be safe, hidden, somewhere sealers couldn't find him. Instead, he was here, watching. Guards approached, handcuffs clicked around Rowan's wrists. Rowan tried to stay standing, tried to keep breathing, tried to remember that this was temporary, that Daniel would file an appeal, that someone would fix this. But the room tilted. The floor rushed up. Rowan's knees hit tile. Someone shouted, hands grabbed shoulders, voices overlapped. The last thing Rowan saw before everything went dark was Ashen breaking free from Cade, running toward the front of the courtroom, small voice screaming one word. No. Will Cade be able to protect Ashen? What happens to Rowan now? Drop your predictions below. Cade caught Ashen before the child reached the barrier. The courtroom guards moved fast, but Cade moved faster. He scooped Ashen up with one arm, turned and walked straight for the exit. No running, no panic, just steady movement that said he belonged there. No one stopped him. Outside, rain hammered the courthouse steps. Cade kept walking. Ashen's face pressed into his shoulder, small body shaking. Put me down, Ashen whispered. Not yet. I need to go back, Rowan's in there. Rowan's not going anywhere. Cade crossed the street, dodged traffic, reached a black SUV parked at a meter, and neither are you. He opened the back door, set Ashen inside, climbed in after him. A woman sat in the driver's seat, dark skin, locks tied back, scar across her left eyebrow. She looked at Cade through the rearview mirror. That went well. Drive, Zarya. The SUV pulled into traffic. Ashen pressed his face against the window, watched the courthouse shrink behind them. They took Rowan. I know. We have to help. We will. Cade pulled out his phone, started scrolling through files, but not the way you think. Zarya turned left, then right, then left again, checking for tails, standard protocol. Who's the kid? She asked. Ashen. The one Dominic's looking for. Yeah. You know Sealers has people everywhere, right? You just walked out of a courthouse with the most wanted child in Chicago. I'm aware. Zarya met Cade's eyes in the mirror. This is a bad idea. Most of my ideas are. They drove for 20 minutes, north through the city, past the business district, past the residential towers, into the industrial zone where buildings sat empty and streetlights flickered. Zarya parked outside a warehouse, corrugated metal walls, broken windows, graffiti covering every surface. Home sweet home, she muttered. Inside, the warehouse was bigger than it looked. Open floor plan, concrete floors, metal beams overhead. In the back corner, someone had set up a makeshift living space. Couch, table, hot plate, sleeping bags. 15 people lived here, maybe 20, all of them discarded by the system. Omegas without registry, alphas without packs, betas with nowhere else to go. Cade's network. A man approached, tall, thin, moving with the careful precision of someone who'd been hurt before. His name was Terrell, former corporate analyst. Lost everything when he refused an alpha's claim. Heard about the hearing, Terrell said. It's bad. Worse, Cade set Ashen down. The child immediately moved to the corner, found the darkest spot, sat. What's the play? Terrell asked. Evidence, we need the original files, the ones Sealers edited. Those are locked in Blackmere's secure server, triple encryption. Biometric access only. I know. You planning to break in? No, Cade looked at Ashen, then back at Terrell. I'm planning to walk in. Zarya crossed her arms. Explain. Dominic wants me. He's wanted me for 15 years. He thinks I'm a threat to his legacy. Cade pulled off his coat, tossed it on the couch. So I'm going to give him exactly what he wants. You're going to surrender? Terrell asked. No, I'm going to negotiate. With what leverage? Cade didn't answer immediately. He walked to where Ashen sat, crouched down, looked the child in the eye. I need to ask you something, and I need you to tell me the truth. Ashen nodded. When you lived at that facility, before Rowan found you, did anyone ever take your blood? Ashen's eyes widened. Yes. How many times? A lot, every month, sometimes more. Did they tell you why? They said it was for medicine. Cade's jaw tightened. Did a man ever come to visit, shorter than me, light skin, always smiling? Ashen went very still. Yes. Did he ever tell you his name? No, but the nurses called him Mr. Crow. Cade stood, walked back to Terrell and Zarya, kept his voice low. Sealers was harvesting DNA. He's been planning this for years. Planning what? Zarya asked. Insurance, control, a way to stay valuable to Dominic no matter what happened. Cade pulled up a file on his phone, medical records, lab reports. Ashen's not Dominic's grandson, but Dominic believes he is because Sealers has been feeding him falsified blood work for months. Terrell leaned in, studied the screen. This is enough to destroy Sealers. Maybe if we can prove it's real. Cade closed the phone, and if we can get it to someone who will actually do something with it. Federal Task Force, Zarya suggested. Too slow, too many leaks. Then who? Cade smiled. It wasn't a happy expression. Dominic himself. Zarya blinked. You've lost your mind. Probably, but think about it. Dominic's entire empire is built on bloodline, on legacy, on the idea that his family name means something. If he finds out Sealers has been lying to him about his own heir. He'll kill Sealers, Terrell finished. Exactly. And then what? Dominic's still dangerous. Rowan's still in custody. The system's still broken. One problem at a time. Cade moved to a laptop sitting on the table, opened it, started typing. First we get Dominic to turn on Sealers, then we use the chaos to pull Rowan out, then we burn the whole thing down. Zarya shook her head. This is a terrible plan. You have a better one. She didn't. Across the room Ashen stood, walked slowly toward them. The stuffed wolf dangled from one hand. If you give the files to the old man, Ashen said quietly, what happens to me? Cade knelt again, met the child's gaze. You stay with me with us until this is over. And then? Then you decide where you want to go, who you want to be. What if I want to stay with Rowan? Then that's what happens. Ashen studied Cade's face, looking for lies, for tricks. Finally he nodded. Okay. Cade stood, looked at Zarya. Set up a meeting with Dominic. Tell him I want to talk terms. He'll think it's a trap. It is a trap, just not for me. Zarya pulled out her phone, started dialing. Terrell moved closer to Cade. You know Sealers won't go down quietly, right? He's got too much to lose. I'm counting on it. Meaning? Meaning when Sealers panics, he makes mistakes. And when he makes mistakes, people notice. Federal people, task force people, the kind who have been looking for a crack in Blackmere's operation for years. Terrell smiled slowly. You're not just destroying Sealers, you're destroying the whole company. Now you're getting it. Zarya ended her call. Meeting set, tomorrow, noon, Blackmere Holdings, top floor. Cade nodded. Good. You sure about this? She asked. No, but Rowan doesn't have time for me to be sure. He looked at Ashen one more time. The child had moved back to the corner, sat with the wolf, watching, waiting. Cade had spent 15 years hiding, running, building something outside Dominic's reach. Now he was walking straight back into it. But this time he wasn't going as a son. He was going as a witness. Will Cade's plan work, or is he walking into his own death? Comment what you think happens next. The file arrived at 6 a.m. Dominic sat in his study, bourbon already poured, reading the same contracts he'd read 100 times before. Routine kept him sharp. Routine kept him in control. Then his computer chimed. New message encrypted, sender unknown. He almost deleted it, almost. Instead, he opened it. Inside was a single PDF, medical records, lab reports, DNA analysis, all stamped with Blackmere Holdings' internal seal. Subject name, Ashen Crow. Dominic scrolled through pages slowly. Blood type, genetic markers, biological parentage. Father, Sealer's Crow. Mother, unknown, deceased. Dominic read it twice, then a third time. The bourbon glass shattered in his hand. Blood mixed with alcohol on his desk. He didn't notice. His eyes stayed fixed on the screen, on the name that shouldn't be there. Sealer's Crow. Not Cade, not any Blackmere, Sealer's. His right hand, his lieutenant, his most trusted advisor. The man who'd told him about a grandson, who'd shown him photographs, who'd arranged everything. Dominic picked up his phone, dialed, "Get Sealer's now." "Sir, it's 6 in the morning. I don't care what time it is, find him, bring him here." He ended the call. His hand throbbed, glass embedded in palm, blood dripping onto imported carpet. He didn't care about that either. The study door opened 30 minutes later. Sealers walked in, suit already perfect, expression calm. "You wanted to see me?" Sealers asked. Dominic turned the laptop around. "Explain this." Sealers glanced at the screen. His face didn't change. "Where did you get that?" "Answer the question." "It's fake." "Is it?" Dominic stood, walked around the desk. Glass crunched under his shoes. "Because it has our company seal, our lab codes, our security signatures. All of which can be forged." "By who?" "Cade, obviously." Sealers gestured at the laptop. "He's trying to turn you against me. It's what he does. Sow doubt, create chaos." Dominic moved closer. "When did you first tell me about Ashen?" 6 months ago. "And where did you say you found him?" "Medical facility, abandoned. I ran tests, confirmed the bloodline." "Confirmed with what lab?" Sealers hesitated, just for a second, just long enough. Dominic saw it. "I used Blackmere's private facility," Sealers said. "Everything was handled internally, quietly, the way you wanted." "Show me the original reports." "They're in the secure server." "Then access them, right now." Sealers pulled out his phone, typed, waited, his expression flickered. "The files are corrupted." "How convenient." "Dominic, listen to me." "No," Dominic's voice dropped to something cold, something final. "You listen, I've built everything on blood, on legacy, on the truth of who we are, and you've been lying to me." "I haven't." "The boy is yours," Dominic said it flatly. "You had a child, you hid him, you told me he was mine, and then you let me build a plan around a lie." Sealers' jaw tightened. "You needed an heir, I gave you one." "You gave me deception." "I gave you options." Sealers' voice sharpened. "You're 60 years old. Cade's been gone for 15 years. You have no other children, no other legacy. Without that boy, your bloodline ends with you. So you decided to write yourself into it." "I decided to protect what you built." Dominic stared at him. This man who'd stood beside him for 20 years, who'd executed orders without question, who'd made bodies disappear and contracts appear. Who'd lied about the one thing that mattered. "Get out," Dominic said quietly. "What?" "Get out of my house, out of my company, out of my sight." Sealers didn't move. "You're making a mistake." "The mistake was trusting you. You lied me." "I needed honesty, you gave me theater." Dominic turned away, walked to the window. "You have 1 hour to clear your office. After that, security will do it for you. And the boy is no longer your concern." Silence stretched between them. Then Sealers laughed, low, bitter. "You think this ends with me leaving? You think your empire survives the truth getting out?" Dominic looked back. "What truth?" "All of it." Sealers pulled out his phone. "Every transaction, every shipment, every body. I've kept records, Dominic, insurance. And if I go down, those records go public." "You're bluffing." "Try me." Dominic crossed the room in 3 steps, grabbed Sealers by the throat, slammed him against the wall. "You forget who taught you everything you know. Sealers choked, gasped. Smiled, and you forget who actually runs it. Dominic released him. Sealers coughed, straightened his tie. We both lose if this gets out, so here's what happens. You let me keep my position, you keep your legacy story, and we pretend this conversation never happened. Oh. Or I send one email, and by tomorrow morning, federal agents are tearing through every office, every account, every secret you've spent 60 years hiding. Dominic's hand throbbed, blood still dripping. He looked at Sealers, really looked at him, saw what he should have seen years ago. Not loyalty, strategy. Not partnership, parasitism. Send the email, Dominic said. Sealers blinked. What? You heard me, send it, burn it all down. Dominic moved back to his desk, sat, because here's what you're forgetting. I'm 60 years old. I've got nothing left to prove, nothing left to lose. But you're 42. You've got decades ahead of you, decades in prison, decades wondering if someone's going to put a knife in your back for snitching. Sealers' expression cracked. So go ahead, Dominic continued. Send your email, see what happens. For the first time in 20 years, Sealers looked uncertain. He backed toward the door. This isn't over. Yes, Dominic said, it is. Sealers left. Dominic sat alone in his study, pulled glass from his palm, wrapped his hand in a cloth, stared at the laptop screen. Ashen Crow, Sealers' son, not a Blackmere, never a Blackmere. Everything he'd planned, everything he'd threatened, everything he'd promised. Built on a lie. The phone rang. Dominic answered. What? Sir, we have a situation. Federal agents just entered the building. They're asking for you. Dominic closed his eyes. Of course they are. Should we let them in? He ended the call. Looked at the bourbon bottle, poured another glass, drank it slowly. Outside his window, the city woke up. People went to work. Lives continued. His was ending. And somewhere in that city, Sealers was running. Dominic smiled. At least he'd see that man fall too. What do you think the federal agents will find? Share your theories below. The federal agents moved through Blackmere Holdings like a surgical team. 12 of them, badges, warrants, boxes for evidence. They started on the 40th floor and worked down. Offices, files, computers, nothing left untouched. Sealers watched from across the street, standing in the doorway of a closed coffee shop, phone in hand, mind racing. The email had gone out 30 minutes ago. Not to the feds, to someone else, someone who'd promised protection in exchange for information. Except the feds had shown up anyway. Which meant someone had talked before he could. Sealers scrolled through his contacts, found the number, dialed. No answer. He tried 3 more, same result. He was alone. Across the street, agents carried boxes out of the building. Employees stood on the sidewalk, confused, scared, some already calling lawyers. Sealers turned, started walking. No destination, just movement. His phone buzzed. Unknown number. He answered, "Who is this?" Someone who knows what you did. The voice was distorted, mechanical, and someone who's been waiting for you to make a mistake. I don't. Ashen Crow, ring any bells? Sealers stopped walking. You had a son, the voice continued. You hid him, you used him, and when that wasn't enough, you tried to pass him off as someone else's legacy. Who are you? Doesn't matter. What matters is that every agency in Chicago now has copies of the same files Dominic saw this morning. Medical records, DNA reports, shipment logs showing how you moved children through trafficking routes for 4 years. Sealers' chest tightened. I never. Yes, you did, and now everyone knows. The line went dead. Sealers stood on the sidewalk. People walked past. Cars honked. The city moved around him like he wasn't there. He pulled up his banking app, checked his accounts. Frozen, all of them. He tried his backup accounts, same thing. He tried the offshore accounts he'd set up years ago as insurance. Empty. Someone had drained them, someone with access, someone who knew exactly where to look. Sealers started running. He made it 2 blocks before the SUV pulled up beside him. Black tinted windows, engine purring. The back door opened. Cade Blackmere sat inside. Get in. Sealers kept running. The SUV followed, slow, patient. You can run, Cade called through the open door, or you can get answers, your choice. Sealers stopped, looked back, looked forward, nowhere to go. He got in. The door closed, the SUV pulled into traffic. Cade sat across from him, calm, controlled. You look stressed. What did you do? Sealers demanded. Me, nothing. I just sent some files to the right people, made sure the truth found the light. You've destroyed everything. No, you destroyed everything. I just made sure everyone knew about it. Sealers lunged. Cade caught his wrist, twisted, slammed him back into the seat. Don't, Cade said quietly. Sealers' wrist throbbed. What do you want? Confession, public, recorded, everything you did, everyone you hurt. And if I refuse? Then I hand you to Dominic, let him decide what happens. Sealers laughed, high, desperate. You think I'm scared of him? You should be. You lied to a man who's killed for less. You used his desperation against him. You tried to rewrite his legacy. Cade leaned forward, and now he knows. The SUV turned, headed north, toward the industrial district. Sealers' phone buzzed again. He looked at the screen. News alert, Federal Task Force raids Blackmere Holdings. CEO Dominic Blackmere taken into custody. He looked at Cade. You got him arrested. The evidence got him arrested. I just made sure it landed in the right hands. He'll lawyer his way out. Maybe, but not before the story goes public. Not before everyone sees what his empire was really built on. The SUV parked outside the same warehouse from before. Zarya got out from the driver's seat, opened Sealers' door. Out. Inside, the warehouse was packed. More people than before. Faces Sealers recognized. Omegas he'd processed. Alphas he'd blacklisted. Betas he'd discarded. They all stared at him. Terrell stepped forward, held up a camera. Start talking. Sealers looked around. No escape, no leverage, no options. What happens after? He asked. After, Cade crossed his arms. After you go to prison. After Ashen gets to decide his own future. After Rowan gets released. After everyone you hurt gets to watch you answer for it. And you. I get to sleep knowing I finished what I should have done 15 years ago. Sealers stared at the camera, at the red light blinking. My name is Sealers Crow, he said slowly, and I've committed crimes against 83 people over the past 4 years. The camera kept recording. Sealers kept talking. And outside, sirens wailed. Justice is coming, but will everyone survive it? Drop your thoughts below. Rowan woke up in a hospital bed. White walls, beeping monitors, IV in arm, throat dry. A nurse walked in, checked vitals, smiled. Welcome back, you've been out for 2 days. 2 days, Rowan's voice cracked. Stress-induced collapse, your body shut down, but you're stable now. Where am I? County General, you were transferred from holding after you collapsed. Rowan tried to sit up, pain shot through chest. Ashen, where's? The child's safe, a voice spoke from the doorway. Rowan turned. Daniel, the public defender, stood there, but he looked different, less tired, less defeated. Charges against you were dropped. Federal prosecutors took over the case. They've been reviewing the evidence from Blackmere Holdings. I don't understand. Sealers Crow confessed, on camera, to everything: fraud, trafficking, evidence tampering. Your case was part of a larger operation. You were framed. Rowan's chest tightened, not from pain, from something else. And Ashen. In protective custody, but not the bad kind. Cade Blackmere filed for emergency guardianship. Court approved it pending your recovery. He wanted to make sure you had a say. A say in what? In where Ashen goes, who he stays with. Daniel stepped aside. Cade walked in, Ashen beside him. The child wore clean clothes, hair combed, eyes less haunted. Rowan. Ashen ran forward, stopped at the bedside, hesitated. Rowan reached out, took the small hand. Hey. You're awake. Yeah, I am. I thought you weren't going to wake up. I'm tougher than I look. Ashen smiled, small, fragile, real. Cade stayed by the door. We need to talk about what happens next. Okay, Rowan said. Ashen needs stability. He needs people who will protect him, not use him. I know. And you need time to recover, to figure out what comes after all this. Rowan looked at Ashen, then at Cade. What are you saying? I'm saying I can provide a place, resources, safety, but I'm not trying to replace you. I'm offering partnership, shared guardianship. Until Ashen's old enough to choose for himself. Why would you do that? Because no one helped me when I was his age, and I'm tired of watching kids suffer for things adults did. Rowan studied Cade's face, looking for lies, for traps, saw only exhaustion, and something that might have been hope. Okay, Rowan said. Cade blinked. Okay. Yeah, partnership, shared guardianship, whatever keeps him safe. Ashen squeezed Rowan's hand. Does that mean I can stay with both of you? If that's what you want, Rowan said. It is. Daniel cleared his throat. I'll draw up the paperwork, get it filed by the end of the week. He left. Cade moved closer to the bed. Dominic's in federal custody. Sealers is facing 23 counts. Blackmere Holdings is being dismantled. It's going to get messy. Messier than this, Rowan gestured at the hospital room. Probably there'll be trials, testimonies, you'll have to relive parts of this. I know. And there'll be people who don't believe you, who think you're lying for attention or money. I know that too. Cade nodded, but there'll also be people who do believe you, who have been waiting for someone to speak up. You're not alone in this. Rowan looked at Ashen. The child had climbed onto the bed, curled up beside Rowan, wolf clutched tight. What happens to him? Rowan asked quietly. Long term. He grows up, goes to school, makes friends, lives. Cade sat in the chair beside the bed. He gets to be a kid, not a commodity. And if someone comes for him, then they deal with both of us. Rowan closed eyes, let the exhaustion wash over. I don't know how to thank you. Don't thank me, just help me make sure this doesn't happen to anyone else. How? Testimony, advocacy, system change, whatever you're willing to do. Rowan opened eyes, looked at Cade. Everything, I'm willing to do everything. Cade smiled. Good, because this is just the start. 3 weeks later, Rowan walked out of County General, Ashen on one side, Cade on the other. Zarya waited by the SUV, ready. Yeah, Rowan said. They drove north, past the business district, past the courthouse, past Blackmere Holdings, now covered in federal tape and emptied of staff. To the warehouse district. To the place Cade had built for people with nowhere else to go. Inside, 20 people waited. Some Rowan recognized from the courtroom. Others were new, all of them survivors. Terrell approached. You're Rowan. Yeah. We've been waiting to meet you. Why? Because you proved something, that fighting back works, that speaking up matters. Rowan didn't know what to say to that. Ashen tugged on Rowan's sleeve. Can we stay here? For a while, Rowan said. It's forever. Maybe if it feels right. It did feel right, not perfect, not safe, but right. That night, Rowan sat on the couch with Ashen curled up beside them. Cade worked at the laptop across the room. Zarya made coffee. Terrell organized files. It looked like family. It felt like survival. And for the first time in months, Rowan could breathe. The story isn't over yet. One final chapter remains. What do you think happens next? Tell us in the comments. The envelope arrived 6 weeks after Dominic's trial began. Plain white, no return address. Rowan found it on the warehouse doorstep at dawn, picked it up, turned it over. Opened it. Inside was a wolf pendant, silver, small, the same design as the stuffed animal Ashen carried. And a note, handwritten, neat. You saved one pup, how many are you willing to lose? Rowan's blood went cold. Cade appeared beside them, looked at the note. When did this arrive? Just now, it was on the step. Cade took the envelope, examined it, no postmark, hand-delivered. By who? Someone who knows where we are. Cade pulled out his phone, started texting. We need to move locations, today. Cade, what is this? He didn't answer immediately. just stared at the pendant. This is the mark of the syndicate Sealers worked for, the one above Blackmere, the one no one talks about. I thought we shut them down. We shut down one branch, but syndicates don't work like that. Cut off one head, 3 more grow back. Rowan's hands shook, so this isn't over. No, it's not. Ashen walked out from the back room, saw the pendant, froze. Where did you get that? Rowan knelt. Someone left it. Do you recognize it? Yes, they gave one to every kid at the facility, said it meant we belonged to them. Cade's jaw tightened. How many kids? I don't know, lots. How many is lots? Maybe 30, 40. Ashen's voice got smaller. They kept us in different rooms. I only saw some of them. Rowan looked at Cade. There are more. Yeah. We have to find them. We will, but first we get Ashen somewhere safe, somewhere they can't reach. Where? Zaria's family has a place upstate, off-grid, no records. We'll send him there until this is resolved. Ashen grabbed Rowan's arm. I don't want to go. I know, baby, but it's temporary. You said that last time. This time it's true. How did you know? Rowan didn't have an answer. Cade crouched down, eye level with Ashen, because this time we're not running, we're hunting. Hunting what? Ashen asked. Everyone who hurt you, everyone who's still hurting kids like you. Will you win? I don't know, but we're going to try. Ashen looked at Rowan, then at Cade. Promise. Promise, they both said. 2 days later, Ashen left with Zaria, heading north in a different vehicle, different route, no pattern to follow. Rowan and Cade stayed behind. That night they sat in the empty warehouse, files spread across the table, documents, names, locations, everything Sealers had confessed to, everything the task force had uncovered. But also gaps, holes, places where the trail went cold. This is bigger than Blackmere, Terrell said. He'd been working through financial records. These accounts connect to shell companies in 12 states, maybe more. How many kids? Rowan asked. Based on medical shipments and facility logs, at least 200. 200. The number hung in the air. Cade closed his laptop. We need help, federal level, task force level. We can't do this alone. Will they listen? Rowan asked. They will now. Dominic's trial made headlines. People are paying attention. For how long? As long as we keep pushing. Rowan stood, walked to the window, looked out at the city, lights glittering, people living, unaware of what happened in the shadows. I want to testify, Rowan said. Cade looked up. Against who? Everyone. Dominic, Sealers, the syndicate. I want to go on record, public record. That'll make you a target. I'm already a target. At least this way I'm a target who fought back. Cade considered. Okay, I'll set it up. 3 weeks later, Rowan sat in front of a congressional committee. Cameras everywhere, reporters taking notes, senators asking questions. And Rowan answered. Every question, every detail, every painful moment. Told the truth about Blackmere, about Sealers, about the system that let it happen. Told the truth about Ashen, about the other children, about the ones still missing. The testimony lasted 4 hours. When it ended, Rowan walked out of the building to a crowd, some holding signs, some shouting support, some shouting accusations. Cade waited by the car. You okay? No, Rowan said, but I did it. Yes, you did. They drove back to the warehouse, back to the work waiting, back to the fight that wasn't finished. Because the envelope had been right. Rowan had saved 1 pup. But there were hundreds more. And now everyone knew. Now the question wasn't whether they'd fight. It was how many they could save before the syndicate struck back. Rowan didn't know the answer. But for the first time, neither did the people hunting them. And that was enough. This is just the beginning of a much larger story. Stories like Rowan's and Ashen's happen every day, hidden in plain sight. If this story moved you, if it made you think, if it made you feel something, then it served its purpose. Subscribe to this channel so you don't miss the next chapter. Turn on notifications so you'll hear when we continue. And most importantly, share your thoughts in the comments below. Your voice matters. Your story matters. Together we can shine light into these dark places and remind people that survival is possible, healing is real, and justice, though slow, is worth fighting for. Thank you for watching, thank you for caring, and thank you for being part of this community that chooses to see, to listen, and to act. Until next time, stay strong, stay safe, and never stop fighting for what's right.